Hi everyone, my name is Liv, and this is my first booktube video ever. I'm so excited. I've been watching booktube for a really long time, and I'm so excited to finally get into the community. So today I'm talking about the books that I read in September. So in September I took part in 2 readathons and 1 book club. So the first readathon I took part in was the Owl's Magical Readathon. Not doing it at the right time, but I just wanted to give it a try, see how it went. The job that I wanted to do was a mind medic. I had to read 8 books, and I did in fact complete my 8 books, which I'm really excited about. The first course that I had to take was Ancient Runes, and the book for that was Retellings. So I chose to read A Curse So Dark and Lonely. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, focusing on our main character Harper, who is a human from Washington, D.C., who has cerebral palsy and a pretty tough home life, and she gets sucked into Emberfall, a fantasy land ruled by Prince Ren, who is cursed to relive the fall of his 18th birthday over and over again until he can find a woman to fall in love with him. I gave this book 5 stars. I really, really liked it. It started off a little bit slow, but I ended up absolutely loving it. Pretty sure it's a series, so I think I'm definitely going to continue the series. Can't wait. The next book that I read was for Arithmetic, which is a book written by more than one author. And for that I read What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Alan Silvera. This is a book about 2 teenage boys living in New York City, Arthur, who is just there for the summer, and Ben, who lives there all the time. And they happen to meet at a post office while Arthur is sending a letter, and Ben is sending a box of his ex's things back to his house. The universe brings them together and then pulls them apart, and the rest of the book is them trying to figure out ways to get back into each other's lives and then figure out their relationship. I gave this book 3 stars. I thought it was okay. It was more character-based than plot-based, and I figured out that I'm more of a plot-based reader. That's the stuff that I enjoy. The next book I read was for Charms, and I was to read an adult work. And for that I read The Perfect Couple by Elin Hilderbrand. Big fan of Elin Hilderbrand, perfect beach read type of book, you know, kind of chick lit, easy to read, typically a romance. This one was a little bit different, and there was a thriller aspect, so I really liked that. This one takes place in Nantucket, Massachusetts, which is where almost all, if not all, of Elin Hilderbrand's books take place. So this takes place at the wedding of Celeste and Benji, and the morning of the wedding, the maid of honor is found dead on the beach. So this book is multiple points of views, trying to figure out how this woman died, the relationship between everyone, and lots of drama. 5 stars. Loved it. Highly recommend. The next book that I read was for Defense Against the Dark Arts, and for that I read The Runaways, which is a comic book, I think it's a Marvel comic book, about a group of acquaintances whose parents are all friends that get together one day and then find out that their parents are a group of supervillains. So they work together to try to get away from their parent and learn a lot of things along the way. This was just the first volume, and I really, really liked it. I think it's a TV show as well, so if I don't continue the comic book, I'll definitely watch the TV show, because I do like a lot of stuff about superheroes and supervillains. So that I gave 4 stars. I thought that was great. Really short. It was a comic book. Don't really know how to rate those, but I liked it all. The next book that I wrote was for Herbology, and for that I listened to Where the Crawdads Sing. This is a book about a girl named Kaya who is deemed the marsh girl, living in North Carolina in the marshes, alone, abandoned at age 10. She has to figure out how to take care of herself, learn, and grow into a woman, dealing with a lot of prejudice, not having anyone to support her, and you follow her as she grows up and eventually falls in love. This one I gave 3.5 stars. I liked it, but I think it's just not the type of book that I enjoyed on audio. The narrator was great, but I just couldn't get into it as much. That might also be because I was listening to it at 6 a.m. on a plane, and I was probably sleeping. I think I'm going to reread it physically this time and see if I like it more, because everyone I know loves it, and I just couldn't get into it on audio, although the narrator was great, so I'm going to see if I like it better physically. The next book that I read was for Muggle Studies. For that I read Kiss Quotient. I've heard a lot about this, and I've always wanted to read it, but I could never find it at my library, and then I found it, and I read it, and I loved it. This one was super, super good, you know, super romancy, super steamy, but I really liked it. It follows a girl named Stella who has Asperger's, now known as the autism spectrum disorder, and her mother is pressuring her into dating and getting married and having a family, but she doesn't really have any experience dating or even talking to guys. So she hires male escort Mike to try to teach her how to date, and you follow their story from there. It was so good, but again, a lot of sexual situations, so trigger warnings for that, but I loved it. I think this author has written The Bride Test and maybe another one. I definitely want to check those out as well. Loved it. The next book that I read is for my potions course, which is to read a sequel. This isn't technically a sequel like right after, but it's part of a series. The Eighth Confession. This is a book that takes place in the Woman's Murder Club series by James Patterson. It follows Lindsay Boxer, a detective, Claire Washburn, a coroner, Cindy Thomas, a reporter, and Yuki Castellano, a lawyer, and follows them throughout different cases. This book specifically followed them with 3 cases. Yuki with a trial of a rich girl involved in a murder, Lindsay following murders of several wealthy society folk, and Cindy trying to solve the murder of a beloved homeless man. I love these books. They're super easy to read. The chapters like 2 to 3 pages each, which is really nice. I gave this one 4 stars. Not my favorite of all of them, but I love these. I'll always read these. I loved it. And the last book that I read was for my Transfiguration class, and the prompt was to read a book with sprayed edges or red on the cover, and I don't have any with sprayed edges or a full red cover, so I cheated a little bit and read Just Take My Heart by Mary Higgins Clark, which has a red title and a red spine. This is a thriller by Mary Higgins Clark. I really liked this one. I've read a few of her books, and they're always good. They're easy to read. This one follows the murder of famous actress Natalie Raines, who was found shot dead in her home. Police and detectives believe that their prime suspect is her ex-husband. So this follows the trial of her husband. It also follows Assistant Prosecutor Annalee Wallace as she's trying to try this case while also being stalked by her neighbor. Gave this one 4 stars. Really enjoyed it. The next readathon that I took part in was the Avatar: The Last Airbender readathon. Huge Avatar fan. Starting to get back in it since I got this series on DVD for my birthday, so I'm really excited about that. So I chose to be in the Water Tribe. The first prompt was to read a childhood favorite, in which I read The Tale of Emily Winsnap, which I loved when I was a kid. It's about a 12-year-old girl, Emily, who was always wanting to swim, but her mother doesn't let her. And when she finally takes swimming lessons, she learns that she turns into a mermaid when she is in the water. So throughout this journey, she discovers a lot of secrets about herself and the father she never knew anything about. I gave this book 3 stars. I'm 24 now, so I just don't love it as much as I did when I was a kid, but I definitely can understand why I liked it as a kid. The next book is to read a book with interesting world building, and for this I read Full Metal Alchemist Volume 1, to bind up with the first 3 volumes of Full Metal Alchemist. It follows brothers Edward and Alphonse, whose bodies have been disfigured due to them trying to bring their mother to life through alchemy. So they now become workers of the government, but they're also trying to find the Philosopher's Stone and get their own bodies back. I want to read this full series before I watch the anime, but I really liked the first volume. The art style was awesome, so I gave this one 4 stars. Really liked it. The last book I read for the readathon, which was the group book, The Rise of Kyoshi. This is a background story about her growing up abandoned in a village, homeless, eating garbage, and how she goes from that to becoming this powerful, feared avatar. I gave this one 4 stars. I really liked it. Loved being back in the universe. I'm definitely going to continue with this series. The next book that I chose was for a book club that I have with my sister and my cousin. We each choose a different book each month, and my choice this month was The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. I've heard tons about it on booktube, so I wanted to finally read it and see what was going on. This book follows Monty, who is in love with his best friend Percy, and it follows them on tour of Europe with Monty's sister Felicity before they each go to their respective schools. However, Monty steals something from a palace that does not belong to him, and trouble follows them throughout Europe. I love this book. I gave it 5 stars. It was definitely not what I thought it was going to be, but I really loved it. I don't know if I'm going to read the follow-up story about Felicity. Haven't heard the best things about it, but we'll see. So those are all the books that I read in the month of September. I think I did a great job. So it was a great month. Lots and lots of good books. No books that I really disliked. So it was a successful month, I think. Thank you for watching my booktube, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!